Hey guys, Zomfox here, and today we're going to be talking about another USFL player got signed, as the Las Vegas Raiders have once again dipped into the USFL player pool in signing New Orleans Breakers cornerback Ike Brown. Without further ado, looking at Ike Brown's overall stats, his pure counting stats, stuff like that, are decent. He played in 7 total games during the regular season, as well as a playoff game. In terms of the season, he had 14 total tackles, with 8 of them being solo. He had 0 sacks, 0 TFLs, 0 safeties, and stuff like that. But he did have 2 interceptions, which included a 97-yard pick six. As for him, aside from that, he did have some other stats. I'm pretty sure he was like the only cornerback or one of to not allow a single touchdown on men who was covering. And I think he had some other pretty good stats. He had like a couple tackles in the playoff game, but overall he was an 11th round pick in the USFL draft. And he was in the USFL because he pretty much decided to retire when he got signed to the Buffalo Bills as an undrafted free agent, and then decided to unretire to go to the USFL. But he is now on the Raiders roster. The Raiders roster at cornerback includes a couple guys they just got, and then some guys that have been on the team for a while. Their starters, Rocky Sin and Trayvon Millen Jr., and then they've got Anthony Averett and Nate Hobbs as second string, Amik Robertson and Darius Phillips are third string, and Cravon LeBlanc and Sam Webb are their fourth string. So, when you look at those players, some of them you can automatically think of, and some you can't. In terms of the ones who I would say are the worst of the corners, Sam Webb is an undrafted rookie, so good chance you can overtake him. Amik Robertson has been in the league a couple years, but he was a 4th round pick. So I don't think the Raiders would be too upset if he got overtaken. He did start a couple games last year, but he didn't really play all that much. He did get, a total of 19 tackles in what he did play, but you know what I mean? Darius Phillips is a 5th round pick back in 2018 by the Bengals. This is his first year at the Raiders. The Raiders just got him. So I feel like in that regard, you can think the Raiders do want to play him. He has started multiple games during some seasons, but he's he's kind of been a kick returner and punt returner. He did that a lot last year, and then he did it a little bit back in 19. As a corner is concerned, though, that's when he was a legit starter. He did have some decent stats. He did have an interception. Did get, multiple tackles, 38 total, and he forced 2 fumbles. So that one year he started, he was really solid, but he didn't end up starting last year as an actual cornerback. So I think he's okay, but I don't think he's as good as some of the other guys. The guys I would say are in the decent category: Cravon LeBlanc, Trayvon Mullen Jr., Anthony Averett, and Nate Hobbs. Nate Hobbs is a 5th round pick last year, but he did start 9 games. He had an interception, some pass defenses, a forced fumble, and he actually had a sack along with a total of 74 tackles. So his counting stats are actually very solid, and I feel like for a 5th round pick that actually performed that well, there's a good chance he's going to get some playing time this year. Cravon LeBlanc is an undrafted free agent, but he's been in the league 6 years, and if you've had playing time for multiple years as an undrafted free agent, you're pretty much in the league for sure. He hasn't really been a legit starter, though, since his first season, but he's overall, in what he does play, he plays pretty decently. So I think there's a good chance the Raiders want to keep him as well up there, especially since this is his first year here after, some stuff last year. Trayvon Mullen Jr. is currently their other starter. He was a 2nd round pick in 2019. He's 40th overall pick. And he's overall been a very solid player for them. He's pretty much, when he's healthy, he started nearly every game, aside from literally 6 games his rookie year. And he does put up decent, counting stats, but mainly his pass defenses are pretty solid. 14 pass defenses in his second season, 4 last year despite only playing 5 games, along with his 20 overall tackles. He's very solid overall. He hasn't forced any fumbles, but he does have 4 total career interceptions, which is better than Anthony Averett, who has been in the league for 4 years, as he was a pick in 2018, and he's another cornerback they signed. And he signed after being with Baltimore, and due to a lot of injuries and stuff, he actually ended up being one of the more reliable Ravens in the entire season due to all the injuries. He started 14 games for them, and he was decent. 54 total tackles with 3 interceptions is pretty decent. Overall, with him, and with a lot of these guys, the Raiders are understanding that they need to get cornerbacks, especially considering the fact that they're in one of the most loaded divisions we've ever seen, as there's legitimately 4 quarterbacks that are all really top-tier quarterbacks. And with their quarterback being viewed by most people as the worst of the 4, they need their defense to be able to step up. And having a legit cornerback is a big deal, hence why they're signing a lot of these guys. as he signed 2 guys from the 18 draft class who are free agents, and, naturally, they've signed another one from the USFL. The only guy that I think is definitely an undisputed will not be overtaken is Rocky Sin. They just traded away Yannick Ngakoue for him in one of the most simple trades you've seen. 1-for-1 Rocky Sin, Yannick Ngakoue. He was a second-round pick by the Colts. He hasn't been a full-time starter, but he started a lot of games, and he's been an overall solid cornerback for what he is. As in all the games he's played, he does have 2 career interceptions. He does have 2 forced fumbles, 20 total pass defenses, and his tackles are decent. Overall, he's been a very solid, legit, good cornerback, But for that matter, though, he is the best, but it's not saying a ton. Overall, I think that there's definitely a good chance that Ike could, go up in this roster, considering just how solid he was in the USFL. If he's able to transition that into a higher pro level, at least to I would say about 80%, he definitely could make an impact and be one of the upper tier players on this roster. I think he legitimately could become a second stringer. I don't know for sure if I see first string. I think that one of those good players will continue to be that. But he does have a shot at that, and I think he'll at least be a third stringer. Especially since at the time of this video coming out, the Isaiah Zubers already moved up in the depth chart for them to the third string. So the Raiders are definitely, willing to move these guys up. But we're going to have to wait and see. As for Ike Brown, congrats to him, back playing football. Hopefully he can, make a true impact to the Raiders and take this opportunity he had as a great thing. This has been ZomFox. If you enjoy this content and want to be notified as soon as I upload any videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. And as always, have a great night.